Welcome once again here on the Regional Radio Sports Network. I'm Paul Condry, the president and founder of Regional Radio Sports. Welcome to the 6th edition of the Tom Robbins Show. Great to be here on the campus of Holy Cross College at Notre Dame, Indiana. Coach Robbins on the far side. We're going to be talking some tennis. We're going to be talking some soccer. We're going to be talking some golf. We're going to be talking a lot about some really cool things. Eric Mahone is with us. Boy, I tell you, he's done a special job with the tennis programs here, men's and women's national qualifiers a year ago, conference tournament champions. We'll get into some of those details a little bit later. But, Tom, I know basketball season for you, also doing double duty as the women's basketball coach. You and Mike McBride, the men's coach, are right in the middle. It's January, so now you're in the heart of your conference season and pushed away all the non-league foes for the most part out of the way. And so everybody's driven into the mindset of let's win a conference championship. Let's get ourselves in a position where we can get into the national tournament. So the mindset. So before we jump into our conversation today, men's and women's basketball certainly have to like the way things are going.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're like you said, we're in the thick of things, and nothing but conference opponents left. We're at the halfway point, 14 games to go. So, you know, the women's team, we only have 2 losses, and we're sitting in a really good place. Beat St. Francis this last Saturday for the first time in a while. So, and you know, some big challenges this week. So it's going to be a good finish to the season. The men's team picked up a new player over the break that's really been doing some nice things, Desmond. So if you haven't seen him, come out and check him out. He's quite the player. So.
And we'll have Saints basketball coming your way this weekend. So make sure you check that out. Tanner Camp and the legendary Pat Dirksen will have all the details right here on Regional Radio Sports. Exciting time around campus. We mentioned right in the open that new soccer coach on the women's side, a new golf coach. We'll talk about that once again on the women's side. We're going to talk about the Saints Athletic Association. Eric's involved in that, but I know we'll be talking about that. But let's start right there and talk about the Saints Athletic Association, a really neat initiative that's really going to, I think it's going to really give athletics here a jump start.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that was the brainchild of Eric here. It was his idea, and you know, it's something to develop the department to get fundraising and that sort of thing, but then to also reach out into the community more. So it's been a progress for about a year and a half now that we've been working on it to get things together. And it's just now getting off the ground. I think it was over Christmas break that we had some social media put out on it to try to get people involved. But it was as I said, Eric's creation, and him and Bob Pastor, who we had on here a couple months ago, have been working intimately with it this last 4 or 5 months. So, but I did want to throw it to Eric to kind of give a description about what the Saints Athletic Program is about.
Yeah, sure thing, Tom. Thanks. So anyway, we're really excited about the Athletic Association. By the way, you can join it by going to hcsaints.com. And then there will be a link there, but it ranges in annual giving from a $200 amount all the way up to a $5K amount. Different benefits come with each level you give at, but overall though we're just really excited about raising the profile of Holy Cross athletics, increasing and basically just giving a better value to our student athletes that come here in terms of facilities, travel. And be able to cover those expenses as we all try to move to national level teams here. So,
well, I would think, Eric, you know this as well as I do because you experienced the national tournament.
Yep.
And those expenses that you have to go to the national tournament with your athletes and those situations, though, just that kind of money just does not grow on trees. At least the last time I looked around back, there were no money trees out there. But let's talk about the importance just on. If we were to narrow this down to just one thing and one thing alone, and that's high-quality travel, making sure you're staying at a great place, kids are getting well-fed, you got a great place you got a bus to ride instead of having to take a car, whatever the case may be. So let's just talk about the importance just on travel and how important it is for your students.
Yeah, no, it's first-rate thing. I mean, I know myself and all the other coaches here, right, we try to give the highest level experience for our athletes. So, not staying in, lesser hotels and and eating, bad food and things like that, right? So, I know we all try to do that, and from a financial standpoint, if we had a situation where half our teams, let's say, made the national tournament, that funding has to be there. And I know that's our goal, right, is to have every team here competitive. And the only way to do that, we can't be sitting here praying that only one team makes it because that's what we can fund, right?
Right.
So we're, like I said, we're really excited about that. We're excited about upgrading facilities, with soccer and hopefully basketball as well. In the future, and this is going to be, I think this will be the bedrock or linchpin of getting that started. And then just one other thing to touch on what Tom said in terms of outreach into the community, right? So giving our community a way to become part of Holy Cross Athletics, get excited about Holy Cross Athletics.
And this isn't just for athletes, former athletes.
No. This is for anyone can join it could be alum, just friends of the programs, anyone in the community that's just interested in supporting Holy Cross and seeing the value that Holy Cross brings to the South Bend community.
Tom, I know from the guy who's kind of overseeing athletics from the grassroots level when you came in, I'm sure this has got to be a welcome sight.
Well, absolutely. I think it's one of the biggest underdeveloped areas in our department. Some of the other colleges around the region, I think, have done a really good job with this, and we've been behind on this sort of thing. But as Eric was talking about, different levels and different groups that can get involved. We're also looking to get businesses involved. High level donors that can then do advertising. With our facilities and through our website and all the people we touch, because we do touch a lot of individuals coming through with the youth camps that we do and the leagues that we have, plus the events that we put on here. We touch a lot of people in our community, and there's tremendous opportunity for businesses to get involved with us as well.
Yeah, and I would say that as the guy who kind of spearheads the broadcasting aspect of this, I mean, for those businesses who want to get involved, I'm more than happy to read your advertising or whatever your mentions on the broadcast, or maybe place something on our screens. So once again, if Eric, what's the best way for them to reach out to you in regards to, or Tom, is that going to be in your, who's going to handle that?
No, so there'd be two ways. The best way though would just be through my email. So that's Mahone, EMAHONE at hcc-nd.edu. And that would be the best way.
So, Tom, when you look at these new initiatives, certainly trying to keep up, and this is not a war of trying to keep up with the Joneses. This is just trying to maintain excellence within the infrastructure of what you have here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When we're talking about other schools in the region and things they've done, you talk about the athletic perspective of it. We're trying to go out there and compete against them on the court, on the field, on the course, that sort of thing. And we've been doing very well at that. But then there's other areas, facilities and, development and that sort of thing that we just haven't been engaged in the game. So it's not a matter of keeping up. It's a matter of excellence, about doing, what's best by the student athlete, giving them the best, experience possible, and putting our best foot forward, just like we have been on the court, on the course, and on the field.
Once again, if you'd like more information on the Saints Athletic Association, just click onto the Holy Cross website. Just follow the prompts. You should be able to get through that. Before we jump into some tennis talk here with Eric, let's talk about some changes in personnel as far as coaching concerned. Got a new women's golf coach, new women's soccer coach. Soccer coach is certainly not new here on the campus, as he's been around the block. Coach Duma is one that is so well respected, not only here within the infrastructure of this community at Holy Cross College at Notre Dame, but also around the geographical area. He is very well thought of. Let's speak to those two new hires you got.
Yeah, I'll pick up on the last one you mentioned. Coach Duma Magula is our new women's soccer coach, and he's been an assistant here for a while, previous to my coming here. And very active in the community, has been a soccer coach in the community for a good long time. So we're very excited to have him take over our women's program. I was involved in the interview process and had the opportunity to interview him. and he was exactly what I thought he was. As we looked more deeply into what he would be bringing to the table, everything was confirmed. What we thought he was is what he is, and we're very excited with what he can do with the women's program. And then Brian Matthews has been our interim golf coach here for both teams throughout the majority of this year. And we, just previous to our Christmas break, hired a women's golf coach, Abby Clark, who also works in our development office and is alum of Holy Cross, was a golfer here, graduated in 2019, so she's a young coach, fresh perspective, has already been engaged with the team quite a bit. It seems like the girls really, really like her right off the bat. I think she's going to be great for us in recruiting. She's definitely going to be a huge asset for us with the development of the department and what she can do with the women's soccer program through the development office as well. So I was also involved in that process, and we're very excited to have her join us as well.
Well, once again, we're glad you can join us here for the 6th edition of the Tom Robbins Show. Tom, obviously, you got a guy who's been to the national tournaments, has student athletes, won national championship. Eric's in that position. I know that when you have someone with his pedigree and his success and you can go back from the time that he was playing, not even the aspect of coaching. And it's got to be really neat to have someone who's ate it, drank it, and slept it and knows everything about that. And as a guy who's an administrator who gets to work closely with him, how neat is that to have someone who you don't have to say, hey, listen, did you try this or you try that? Because you want their coaches to do the coaching, not looking over your shoulder, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can trust Eric to do the job. He's done a tremendous job with the program, getting both teams into the national tournament last year, conference champions, conference tournament champions between the two. He's somebody that you just open up options for him and give him the keys to the car, and he's going to get you there. He's also a community guy. He's been a student here at Holy Cross, and he's been an aspect of. He's got a lot of connections with Notre Dame, and been an aspect of that culture. And that's big for us with our facilities. Our tennis facilities are shared. We share those with Notre Dame, so we use Notre Dame's facilities. So for him to have that connection goes a long way for us.
Eric, obviously people talk about the success of your program, and the first name that pops up is Perry Gregg, and justifiably so, a young man who's kind of rewrote he's kind of the standard bearer from here on in. So let's just talk about having a person that was in that position to win a national championship, to be able to do the things that he's been able to do. And you can go out and you can talk to a future recruit and say, hey, listen, we have tournament championships. We've been to the national tournament. We've got a national champion. How much does all that success continue to help you as you recruit?
Yeah, right. So it snowballs. So there's definitely there was a noticeable difference in emails from recruits within about a week of him winning the national championship.
Wow.
So just from there, even the level of interest, we've had from around the world, from players, has increased significantly. And really, since he set foot on campus, he's helped tremendously with giving legitimacy to our program. When the recruiters are deciding what schools to direct kids to, we're on that map now. Where I had been working about 4 or 5 years pretty hard to get us on that map before Perry got here, and then and he was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, in terms of kind of opening up the floodgates for that. So he's been a game changer for our program.
Share with our listening audience how recruiting goes for college soccer or college tennis. Because if you look at Tom's going to go to AAU tournaments.
Sure.
He's not going to have a lot of time to get to a lot of games because he's got practice. So the dynamics, really, Tom, has changed as AAU and all those other dynamics have come along. Summer stuff. There's a lot of stuff. So Tom's working 365 on trying to get the next great athlete here. So, if you want to get another Grace Adams in here, you're looking under every rock and on the top of every mountain having to say that. Now, is the same situation, can you walk us through how tennis is recruited differently than, we'll say, Tom's basketball?
Yeah, so so one way tennis is recruited differently is we're heavily international, right? So we're recruiting the whole world.
Okay.
Although I'm assuming it's probably not too much different from the other sports in terms of you're trying to develop relationships, right? So I'm trying to develop relationships with coaches and recruiters first and foremost, because they're the gatekeepers before I could even get to mom and dad and the student athlete, right? So from the day I got here, for me it was reestablishing those relationships that I had at my previous job at University of Dayton, getting those recruiters and coaches to know I'm back in college coaching, and then traveling, going on the road to go see them. So whether it's flying to Germany, I did a few years ago, or I go to Florida pretty often, down to IMG Academy. Anyway, places like that, just kind of develop those relationships, build, and then when I can finally get in front of the kid, Holy Cross and the Notre Dame community here, it does a really good job of selling of what we have to sell. So from facilities to academics to the culture of just our college, it's a pretty, I feel like I have a pretty good product to sell once I'm there. Yep.
Watching your national tournaments teams actually get from the conference tournament to the national tournament last year, I was taken back by the amount of international students that you have. Just tell everybody what countries you have represented on your team, and then in just a little bit more about that relationship building. What have you found is the draw for those international students to come to South Bend, Indiana?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, we have. I'll start at the top there. So we'll go. So from countries, obviously the United States and Canada, and then let's see, France, Switzerland, Colombia, Hong Kong, Germany, Ireland. We have several young men from Ireland. The list goes on and on. I'd have between both teams.
Wow,
I don't know. It's at least
amazing.
10. It's at least 10 countries, I think. So that's one part, and then the draw is in the United States. We're the only country that has major college athletics, right? And these students want to play, right? And in their home country, they'd be on a club team at their college or whatever, or trying to play professionally. United States is very unique that we provide this collegiate athletic experience where you can play tennis at the highest level, be supported, get your education. So that's one reason they would come, and then the next reason is just the program that we have here at Holy Cross. It's a draw academically, especially. We have just on our men's side, we have 4 of our 5 senior men are all into grad school at Notre Dame, and then the 5th is going to medical school. So at Michigan State. So the draw is there on and off the court for the international players.
Tom, this is really kind of almost polar opposite from what you've really tried to do. I could just look at the Penn connection for you alone. You could just go see, Christie over at Penn. It's like, I've got Jordan, it's mind-boggling because you love the aspect of recruiting within 90 minutes to maybe 2 hours, and he's gallivanting across the globe, right?
Yeah, you got to look at where the talent is, right? And go after that supply. You want the supply and demand curve to be in your favor, and
sure.
It's certainly a great supply of basketball players, particularly girls basketball players in this region, and Indiana's huge for that. But as I've talked to Eric over the years about what he's doing with his program and how he gets his kids and that sort of thing, tennis is a big deal in Europe in particular. And there's the supply. So you've got to go after that situation where the demand's in your favor. So he does that. There's a challenge, and how do you overcome it? And for me, it's local. It's here. But for him, he's got to get across the pond, so to speak, and get those high end players here.
So let's talk about student athletes. Who are you expecting big things from as you look at as their future of the program? Who's gonna maybe is there another Perry Gregg in this group or
sure?
Do
yeah,
you have a couple maybe on the horizon?
We do. Well, so we have a young man named Oscar Way who's coming in January, who's younger than Perry, but that level of player. It was a really big pickup for us. We've had some really exciting things from freshman Adam Singleton this fall. He played exceptionally well in his tournament at Cleveland State, and then the other D1 tournament at Notre Dame with some really big wins. And then my two captains, junior Karen McCarthy and senior William Page, are expecting really big seasons this spring on the men's side. On the women's side, we're stacked as well. I mean, we have sophomore Victoria Cevedes, who was second-team All-American back. Senior Kia Carvello, who was also an All-American back. And then just a whole group of really quality players. I mean, I think 1 through 10 on the women's side all would have been starters for us a year ago.
Wow!
And we only need 6, right, to start. So the women are loaded, and really good character kids, and they do exceptionally well in the classroom as well. And so we're really excited about the future for sure this year and the next year of both programs.
From a roster standpoint, where are you guys wanting to always be? You want to have 10, 12, 14? Because, at some point in time, the way athletes are today, hey, if I'm not going to start here, I'm going to go over there and do this kind of thing. So you got to keep everybody happy. Not everybody can say, hey, listen, I'm going to try to, once again, using Perry Gregg as an example, I want to be able to compete against Perry Gregg every practice because he's going to make me a better player. Yep. Some kids have that mindset. They want to be able to be challenged within their own program if they can win a spot. So where are you at in regards to numbers, and what's the perfect situation for you?
Yeah, so, I mean, the perfect situation would be 8 to 10 for each team. Definitely 10 on the men's side. The women's side, you could be a little lower. In terms of where the team is, though, we graduate a ton. So we graduate 5 players on each squad, so almost half the roster. And like I said, we do it, which is why we brought in 2 players this spring, one on each side, to kind of get ahead of that curve. But we'll be definitely down in numbers next year compared to this year, because this year we're 13 and 11. Next year, we're down more like 8 on the women's side, and on the men's side, I think 10. So. We're probably actually in the sweet spot where we want to be. We have a little more than we'd like this spring, it's almost we're almost too talented in terms of how do you get playing time for quite frankly players that all deserve to be starters.
Tom Robbins wants to have that problem for his basketball team, I think.
Yeah.
We're too talented that we need, right, Tom?
Right, that'd be a nice problem to have.
Okay, and kind of in closing, so Tom, when you look at all the different sports, each coach has his own unique way of recruiting, has his own unique way of having to budget to run their programs from a wide variety of different things. And we talked about travel, international travel. So there's a lot of different things that Eric is going to be in a situation that he has to have. So when you come into this as the athletic director and an administrator in a position, when you set budgets for your programs, when you're not the tennis coach and you don't have those kind of things, you have to rely on his expertise, his honesty, and all those type of things to say, hey, listen, this is what it's going to take for me to be competitive. And Omar Gallo with the soccer program, I mean, he's probably said, hey, listen, this is what I need to be able to compete. So when you set up the infrastructure of athletic programming and making sure that you're taking care of the bottom line, how do you do that?
Well, it's a personal connection, really. And for us here, it's been personal connection with our business office. So I have regular meetings with individuals in the business office to see what the total situation is for us across how does it have to be shared. But then, as you tipped off there, is individual meetings with the coaches, meeting with Eric and talking about his needs and what that looks like, meeting with Omar and talking with his needs and seeing what that looks like, and then taking those problems or challenges, however you want to say it,
Sure.
back to the business office. And then working with them to try to meet those challenges. And what we've been blessed with here is good people, good people with the coaching situations that are honest about what they need and aren't over embellishing and that sort of thing. But are, and we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, his experience and being able to drive the car and trust him to do that. All those things come into play, and especially in this, when you're talking about budgeting. But then also the business office as well. Good people. We have good people in the business office that want to work with us, that want us to be successful and want to be able to give us the resources that we need, but then are also direct and honest about what's available and what we can do. So
I know that it's been a while since we had Dr. Clark on the program, since he's really kind of dug in and kind of got some people in some places to try to do some things. Can you give us a quick update? I know I'm springing this one on you, but can you give us an idea on how Dr. Clark is helping Saints Athletics and how he's going to help the Saints Athletic Association move forward to get to the next level? Because always good to follow up on some of our previous guests.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first thing, but probably the best compliment I can give for Dr. Clark in that situation in terms of promoting our future is he's a great cheerleader. He's extremely supportive. He's been in some of those business meetings, particularly last year as we were talking about the Saints Athletic Association and other things that we wanted to do. I had meetings where he was in the room along with business office personnel, and he's sitting there saying, I want to be able to do more for athletics. How can we do more for athletics? So encouraging the business office to also think in that regard, which, they already were, but it's great to hear that from your president. So I think first off, he's been a tremendous cheerleader. But secondly, he's following that up with tremendous logistic support. So he's been a key player in the development of the ideas of the Saints Athletic Association, working with Eric and Bob in particular on what that can be, connecting those ideas to the development office as well. And then getting outside people in here, like talking to architecture companies and that sort of thing about expanding facilities. So he's been working continually on the logistics to see how that can happen, and then continually to encourage us as, things aren't able to go as fast as, just like your teams.
Oh, yeah.
You want your teams to be better than they are, and there's a process to get there.
Yep.
Well, it's the same thing with development. It doesn't always go as fast as you want it to go. So he's been very supportive about talking to us about where we've had to slow down on some things but what the plans are to go forward, and the fact that it's not over. It's still there, and it's still something we're focusing on.
Final question for Eric. How neat is it to be able to have, and speaking about Dr. Clark, to have a former coach, a guy who's been in that position, to have to recruit, to have to coach, to have to get his athletes ready to compete, to know that you can go in there and you have an open door to be able to not only go to talk to Tom, but to Dr. Clark, and have someone who has your DNA in him too. How important is that for you as a coach to have that at your disposal?
Yeah, there's no doubt. So, having it's rare that in college athletics that we have a president that played college athletics, right? So to have that is fantastic, just because of what you just said. He understands the needs of the programs. He understands that, I believe I'm using his words correctly, that athletic fundraising is the tip of the spear of fundraising for the college, and so he's really embraced that. So on both fronts of my job, whether it's coaching tennis or being a part of athletic development, to know that you've got the backing of, the highest up person in the college is fantastic. And on top of that, I don't know if you've spent time with Dr. Clark, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to be a heck of a closer for us, hopefully, when it comes to some of that fundraising.
Yeah.
Because he's got a real way with people and a really dynamic speaker. So to have him, running the show has been fantastic.
Well, let's hope we get a chance to see this, to be talking with you somewhere down the road. We'll be talking about another trip to the national tournament, another opportunity to hang another banner here inside McKenna Arena. Tom, as always, great to hang out with you today. Best of luck as the basketball season hits the backstretch.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys' support in that too.
Once again, that's going to do it for us here at Holy Cross College at Notre Dame, Indiana. For Coach Tom Robbins, for Coach Eric Mahone. Thanks again, as always, to the legendary Tanner Camp for his great help in engineering, producing today's program. For all of us at the Regional Radio Sports Network, I'm Paul Condry. God bless you all.